The unusual assignment. The bright blue lights of the alien medical bay hummed softly. Nurse Velyara walked down the long corridor, her 3 fingers holding a glowing tablet. Her long silver-white hair was tied back, and her green skin shimmered under the sterilized lights. She was young, smart, and one of the top healers in the Xelari Empire. But today her assignment was unusual. She stopped outside room C9. A red warning sign blinked on the door. Human male, high security, handle with caution. Velyara raised one eyebrow. Human male? She had never seen one in real life. Her people had only recently started fighting with humans in the outer colonies. Most Xelari thought humans were too wild, too emotional, and too unpredictable. Still, she was a professional. She tapped the door panel, and it slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, a single bed stood in the center of the room. Machines beeped quietly around a tall, strong body lying unconscious under a white sheet. His skin was tanned, his jaw covered with rough dark hair. His chest rose and fell slowly, and wires were attached to his body to monitor his condition. Velyara stepped closer and scanned his vitals. Heartbeat steady. Blood pressure, normal. Oxygen levels, stable. But then, the scanner made a strange beep. Velyara frowned and looked at the display. A new alert had appeared. Abnormal swelling detected. Lower region, unknown cause. She blinked. Swelling? She whispered. Her eyes moved down and stopped. Under the sheet, something large had risen. It created a noticeable tent in the fabric between his legs. Her cheeks, a faint shade of green, turned darker. She had studied many species. She had healed wounded soldiers, poisonous creatures, and even brainless beasts. But she had never seen this. Was it an injury? A tumor? Some kind of infection? Carefully, she pulled out her handheld scanner and pointed it at the swollen area. The device scanned for a few seconds. Then a strange message appeared. Biological arousal response detected. No medical emergency. Velyara's eyes widened. Arousal? She repeated, shocked. She tapped the tablet for more information, but the system refused. Access restricted. Class 7 cultural data. Human reproduction files. She felt frustrated. The machine was telling her there was no danger, but also that she wasn't allowed to learn more. It made no sense. Her heart was beating faster. She looked down at the human again. He didn't move. His face was peaceful, like he was dreaming. His muscles looked strong even while resting, and that strange part of his body was still swollen. She took a step back. Is this normal for humans? She thought. Or is something wrong with him? She couldn't help but feel curious. What was it about his biology that made this happen? Was it a reaction to pain or something else? The idea that it could be a reaction to her made her suddenly feel warm. She turned around quickly and walked to the wall, placing her hand on the cool metal to calm herself. No, she thought. I am a nurse. He is a patient. I am not here to think like this. She took a deep breath and opened her report file. Patient stable, unknown biological reaction observed. No threat detected. Further data required. She sent the report to her commander, then turned back to look at the man once more. The swelling was still there. Velyara shook her head. Strange human, she whispered. Just then the man groaned. Her eyes snapped toward him. His fingers twitched. His head turned slightly and then his lips moved. Angel? Velyara froze. The human's eyes fluttered open, soft, brown, and full of light. He looked right at her. Where am I? He whispered. Her voice caught in her throat. She stared at him for a few seconds before finally answering. You are safe in a Xelari medical facility. He blinked. You're beautiful. Her breath caught. She didn't know what shocked her more, that he had awakened, Or that the first thing he said was that? For the first time in her career, Nurse Xelari didn't know what to say. She just stood there, heart racing, as the strange human looked at her like she was a miracle. And beneath the sheets, the inflammation only seemed to grow. Xelari couldn't sleep. Even in her quiet room deep inside the medical dome, her mind kept flashing back to him, the strange human who had called her beautiful with half-closed eyes, and whose body had reacted in a way her species never experienced. She turned over on her soft sleep pad, but peace didn't come. The memory of the strange swelling kept disturbing her thoughts. Not because it was dangerous, no, the machine said it wasn't, but because it meant something else. Something no medical textbook in the Xelari Empire had prepared her for. Why did that happen while I was there? She wondered. Her training told her to report it, to leave the case alone. But her heart told her something different, something wild, something forbidden. She rose from bed and slipped on her cloak. The halls were dark at this hour. Most staff had returned to their quarters. She walked quietly until she reached a sealed door labeled Cultural Archive, Access Restricted. She hesitated. Opening this door without permission could mean punishment, maybe even losing her job, but she needed to understand. With trembling fingers, she used her private code. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, glowing holoscreens filled the air, each showing files from different species across the galaxy. She tapped the floating screen and typed, Search. Human male anatomy. Arousal reaction. The screen flickered. Then, images and files filled the space in front of her. Her eyes widened. Some were scientific diagrams. Others were less professional. Xelari's cheeks flushed dark green again. She waved the more strange ones away and focused on the main file. Human males show involuntary arousal in response to visual, emotional, or imagined stimuli. This reaction is natural and often linked to reproduction, desire, or bonding instincts. It is not harmful. She blinked. Desire? Bonding? The human was unconscious. Was it possible he dreamed about her? Her fingers hovered over the screen. Another line stood out. Strong emotional reactions can occur even in early contact if the human finds the subject appealing. She sat down, thinking deeply. Xelari was a nurse, not a love expert. But now she was reading about emotions, desire, and bonding, words never used in Xelari science. Her people didn't even form romantic pairs like humans. They only mated for reproduction and then moved on. Love was not a concept they believed in, but humans. Humans were different, and she had felt it too. When he looked at her, something stirred deep inside her chest. A warmth that wasn't from shame or fear. It was curiosity. It was connection. It was dangerous. She closed the files, stood up quickly, and left the archive. She needed to check on him again. Back in room C9, Marcus was awake now, staring at the ceiling. He turned his head slowly as the door opened. Hey, he said, voice soft. It's you again. Xelari stepped inside and nodded. Yes, I came to make sure your condition is still, stable. Marcus gave a tired smile. You mean the inflammation? He teased gently. Her eyes widened, and her skin flushed again. You heard that? She asked, embarrassed. I wasn't fully asleep, he replied, chuckling weakly. Sorry for the surprise, I guess humans aren't so simple. Xelari looked away. Your biology is not confusing. Marcus's smile faded a bit. Yeah, we confuse ourselves too sometimes. There was silence for a moment. Then he asked, What's your name? She hesitated. Xelari, he repeated slowly. That's beautiful, like you. She swallowed hard. Why do you say such things? Because I mean them, Marcus said softly. You saved me. You cared for me. That matters. Xelari stared at him. Is this what they mean by emotion? By bonding, he suddenly winced in pain. His side hurt. She rushed to him, placing her hand gently over his chest. "Don't move," she said firmly. He looked into her eyes and she realized her hand was still on his skin, and she didn't want to pull it back. Her fingers stayed there, feeling his warmth. That's when she understood something. The real inflammation might be growing in her own heart. Xelari told herself it was just a medical check, just a simple visit. But when she touched his skin, it wasn't healing she felt. It was connection, and that scared her more than any war. The room was quiet. Only the soft beep of the machines filled the silence as Xelari stood by Marcus's side. His chest rose slowly, his skin warm under her palm. She didn't know why she hadn't pulled her hand away. In her culture, touch meant permission. It meant closeness. It meant trust. But with this human, it meant something more. Marcus slowly turned his head and looked at her. His eyes were tired, but they held something deep, something she didn't recognize but couldn't ignore. "You're not just here to check my blood pressure, are you?" he said softly with a small smile. Xelari quickly pulled her hand back, flustered. "You need rest. I was just making sure I'm alive," he finished, still smiling. "Well, mission accomplished." She crossed her arms, trying to stay professional. "Your body is healing well. The nanites are working. But your emotional activity is abnormal." He raised an eyebrow. "Emotional activity?" Xelari cleared her throat. "Your heart rate increases when I'm near. Your brain shows signs of stimulation. Your swelling returns when we speak." Marcus laughed gently. "I think we call that attraction, Nurse Xelari." She looked away, her face turning dark green again. "It is not proper to say such things." "Why not?" Marcus asked. "You saved my life. You've been kind. And you're beautiful. Why can't I say that?" Xelari shook her head. "Because I'm Xelari, because I'm your nurse, and because you're human." Marcus sighed. "Maybe. But that doesn't change what I feel. And maybe it doesn't change what you feel either." She froze. Was he right? Later that night, Xelari sat in the empty garden dome. Flowers from different planets glowed softly in the moonlight above. She sat on a bench, lost in thought. Why does he affect me this way? She wondered. He is a patient. I should not feel anything. But she remembered the way he looked at her. Not with fear, not with judgment, but with something gentler, something rare. She thought back to her own people. The Xelari didn't form bonds. Relationships were temporary, physical, cold. But humans were different. They touched, they laughed, they hurt, they loved. Xelari whispered the word to herself. Love. It felt strange in her mouth, almost dangerous. Back in his room, Marcus looked up at the ceiling. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, her soft voice, her strange alien beauty. She wasn't just a nurse. She was the only gentle thing in this cold metal place. He didn't know why his body reacted that way when she touched him. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was biology. But what he felt in his chest, that was something else. He didn't want to leave this room because she was the only thing worth seeing. The next day, something changed. Xelari entered his room with a medical scanner, but her hands trembled slightly. Marcus noticed. He didn't joke this time. Instead, he asked, "Do you want to sit?" She hesitated, then nodded. She sat beside him, for the first time not as a nurse, but as someone unsure. He looked at her gently. "I won't touch you. I won't do anything you don't want. I just want to understand you." She looked at him. "Why?" "Because you're kind. Because you risked punishment to help me. Because no one else here treats me like a person." Silence fell between them again. But it wasn't cold. It was full of tension, soft, emotional tension. Then softly she asked, "Do all human males feel this way?" About nurses? Marcus chuckled. No, just the ones lucky enough to meet one like you. Her heart skipped. This was dangerous. This was wrong. But in that moment it didn't feel like a mistake. It felt like a beginning. Velyara stood in front of the commander's desk, her hands folded, her back straight. You've been spending too much time with the human, Nurse Velyara, the commander said coldly. He is a war captive, not a friend. From now on your access is restricted. Her heart sank. But he is still healing. I am the only one who— There are others, the commander cut in. This is not about healing. This is about boundaries. You will obey, or you will be replaced. Velyara didn't speak again. She just nodded, turned, and left. But inside, something cracked. That night, the halls of the medical dome were silent. Lights dimmed low, and guards changed shifts. Velyara moved like a shadow, her white robe blending with the walls. Her personal access was blocked, but she had memorized the old maintenance paths during her training. She opened a hidden panel behind the supply room and crawled into the vent tunnel. The path was narrow, dusty, and cold, but her purpose was clear. She had to see him, just once, just to make sure he was okay. In room C9, Marcus lay awake staring at the ceiling again, but tonight was different. Tonight he felt alone. He hadn't seen Velyara all day. No soft voice, no strange questions, no calming touch. The new nurse had come and gone quickly. Cold, robotic, silent. No one even looked at him. He had tried to ask what happened, but no one answered. Was she gone? Did they punish her? He felt a pain deeper than any wound he got in the war. She cared, he thought. And now she's gone. Suddenly the wall panel in the corner slid open with a soft click. He sat up quickly. Was it a guard, a robot? But then he saw her. Velyara climbed out slowly, brushing dust from her cloak. Marcus's eyes widened in surprise and relief. Velyara. She held a finger to her lips. Shh. I only have a few minutes. He smiled. I thought they took you away. They tried, she whispered, stepping closer. But I needed to see you. She sat beside his bed, and for a moment they didn't speak. They just looked at each other, two souls from different worlds connected by something no one else could understand. You shouldn't be here, he said softly. I know. Then why come? Velyara looked down. Because when I didn't see you today, something felt wrong inside me. Marcus's expression softened. Yeah, I felt that too. A long silence passed. Then Velyara reached into her robe and pulled out a small, glowing cube. What's that? He asked. A memory crystal, she said. It stores only one moment, one feeling. I want to record this before they take it away. She held it between them. The cube lit up, sensing emotion. Their eyes met. The cube glowed brighter. Then she whispered, They say humans love with the heart, but I think maybe my heart is learning too. Marcus's voice shook. And I think I'm already there. Just then, a loud alarm blared in the hall. They both jumped. Unauthorized access detected. A robotic voice warned. Prepare for security check. Velyara's face turned pale. They know I'm here. She grabbed his hand quickly, holding it tightly. I have to go. Don't tell them I came. I won't, he whispered. Her fingers brushed his cheek for just a second. Then she disappeared into the vent as the door hissed open. Guards stormed in. Marcus leaned back, eyes closed, pretending to sleep. But inside his chest, something had already awakened. For 3 long days, Marcus didn't see Velyara again. Each hour dragged like a year. New nurses came and went. They spoke little. They never looked him in the eyes. The food tasted bland, and the room felt colder. But the worst part was the silence. The absence of her. He thought maybe she had been punished. Maybe they erased her memories like the rumors said they did to Xelari who disobeyed. That thought made his chest ache more than his injuries, but then on the fourth night the door opened, without warning. And there she was. Her eyes met his. And in that moment, the entire room lit up in his heart. Xelari stepped inside quickly, checking the hallway before the door slid shut. She had been reassigned to another sector, but she lied about needing supplies from the medical dome. It was risky. If caught again, she wouldn't just be punished. She'd be erased. But she had to see him, even if only once more. Marcus sat up. "You came back," she nodded. "I don't have much time." He stared at her. "Why risk it? Why break rules for me?" Xelari looked down, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her sleeve. "Because something is changing inside me. And I don't know what it is, but I know it starts when I'm near you." She moved closer. He reached out, slowly, carefully, and she didn't pull away this time. Their hands touched. And just like before, his body responded. The swelling returned. The sheets shifted. Xelari's eyes widened, but not in fear. "This time?" She didn't move away. Instead, she whispered, "It's happening again." Marcus gave a small, nervous laugh. "Yeah, I noticed. But you're not asleep. You're not dreaming," she said softly. "No," he replied. "I'm just looking at you." She studied his face. His heartbeat quickened. Hers did too. "Is it always like this? For humans?" she asked. Marcus shook his head. "Not always. Not with everyone. Only when we feel something real." Xelari sat down on the edge of the bed. "And what is it you feel?" He looked at her, eyes steady, voice calm. "Heat, hope, maybe even love." Xelari was silent. Then, slowly, she reached out and touched his face. Her green fingers trembled slightly. She had never touched anyone this way. Never wanted to. But now, with him, the rules of her people didn't matter. Suddenly, the room's light dimmed. The system detected unauthorized emotional activity. The AI spoke. "Unusual emotional spike detected. Report will be logged." Xelari panicked. "I have to go before the AI alerts command." Marcus nodded. "I understand." But before she left, she leaned down, their faces close. "Humans. They burn like suns," she whispered. "And you," Marcus replied, "are the one keeping me warm." Their lips almost met, but she stopped just short. "This is not over," she said. And then she was gone again, like a ghost in the night. As the door shut behind her, Marcus lay back, hand still warm from her touch. And the inflammation? It remained. But this time, it wasn't embarrassing. It was proof that something was growing between two souls from different stars. The Hall of Judgment was cold. Silver pillars stretched to the ceiling, and the walls pulsed with living light. High above sat the three Xelari counselors, ancient, emotionless, and merciless. Below, Xelari stood alone in the center of the chamber. Her wrists were bound by glowing restraints. "Xelari of the Healing Corps," one counselor spoke. "You are charged with emotional contamination, unauthorized contact with a war captive, and access to forbidden data." Xelari said nothing. Another counselor leaned forward. "Do you deny entering the human's chamber without permission?" She didn't blink. "I do not deny it." A murmur rose in the crowd of observers. "Do you deny forming a personal attachment to the prisoner?" the third counselor asked. Xelari's voice was quiet, but clear. "I do not." The chamber fell silent. They weren't prepared for honesty, not from a healer, not from one of their own. Outside the judgment chamber, Marcus sat in his cell, unaware of the trial. But something in his chest felt heavy, a storm building inside him. He paced, his legs still weak, his ribs aching, but his thoughts sharper than ever. She hasn't come back. He pressed his hand to the wall. Something's wrong. Back inside the court, the sentence was spoken. For emotional corruption, your bond will be erased. Your memories of the human will be removed. You will return to service without recall or regret. Xelari's eyes widened. No, please. But the council was unmoved. We do not erase to punish, the lead counselor said. We erase to protect. Love is a weakness. It makes you disloyal. Xelari stepped forward despite the bindings. Then I am disloyal. Because I choose to feel. Gasps filled the hall. Silence, the counselor shouted. Then you leave us no choice. That night, guards came for Marcus. They didn't speak. They injected him with something cold and heavy. He collapsed. When he woke up, his body was strapped to a medical table, metal braces around his arms and legs. A voice spoke from behind glass. We are terminating the emotional link. Marcus blinked. What? The nurse has been compromised. You are to be erased from her memory. Her connection to you ends tonight. No, he whispered. You can't. She chose this. But Marcus knew the truth. She hadn't. At that moment, in a dark chamber far away, Xelari sat in a chair with wires wrapped around her temples. A machine hummed beside her. A red button glowed. One press, and everything about him, his voice, his face, his laugh, would vanish from her mind. A drone hovered above. Proceed. Her finger trembled above the button. Then, she whispered, no. And she tore the headset off. Screams echoed as she ran down the hall, knocking over droids and pushing past guards. She didn't care anymore. They could arrest her, erase her, kill her, but she would not let them take him. In the lab, alarms blared. Marcus struggled in his bonds. Then the door burst open. She was there, hair wild, eyes blazing, cloak torn. Let him go, she shouted. The techs reached for their shock rods, but she slammed her hand into the console. The restraints released. Marcus fell into her arms. Their eyes met again. This time, there were no rules, no duties, no fear, only choice. Only them. The night sky above the desert moon was silent. Stars shimmered like scattered crystals, and two figures stood at the edge of an old smuggler's ship. Its metal hull creaked from age, but it was fast enough to escape Xelari space. Xelari's hands shook as she entered the final launch code. Her stolen medkit hung on her back. Marcus leaned against the ship's frame, his body weak but alive, eyes focused on her. You sure about this? He asked softly. She looked at him. No, she whispered, but I choose it anyway. Just hours ago, they had raced through security checkpoints, dodged drones, and barely escaped in an old transport pod. Blasts lit up the sky as they broke atmosphere. No help came, no rescue waited, but they didn't stop, because freedom meant one thing now: staying together. Inside the ship, Marcus sat on a narrow bunk. He still had bruises, his ribs still ached. But all he could see was her, standing tall, strong, fearless, despite losing everything. You're bleeding, he said, pointing to a scrape on her arm. She sat beside him, smiling gently. Then heal me, human. He reached for a cloth. She didn't stop him. As he gently wrapped her wound, their hands touched. Again. There was no alarm this time. No machines, no watchers, no rules, just silence and warmth. She leaned closer. Back on the station, she whispered. I was ready to press that button. Marcus looked at her, heart pounding. What stopped you? You, she said simply. Your voice lived in my mind louder than theirs. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the glowing memory crystal, the one she never used. She placed it in his hand. Record your voice, she said. Just one sentence, something I can keep in case I ever lose you. Marcus looked into her eyes, then pressed the cube to his lips. I'd choose you again. Across every star, the crystal glowed, capturing the moment. She closed her fingers around it. Then they kissed. Later, as the ship flew into uncharted space, Xelari stood at the window, her eyes on the stars. Marcus came up behind her. "Do you know where we're going?" "No," she said. "But I know where we're not going, and that's enough." He slipped his arms around her waist. In that moment, the war didn't matter. Their species didn't matter. The galaxy didn't matter. Only the bond they chose to protect even when no one else did. Somewhere deep in the archives of the Xelari Empire, 2 files blinked red. Nurse Xelari, status, rogue. Human Marcus, status, missing. Last seen, together. And on a forgotten moon under twin suns, a new story was beginning. Not of war, not of orders, but of love. The kind that no empire could erase.